Welcome dear participants. In this module, we would look at the types of smiles, the cultural differences in which we pass on and interpret smiles, as well as the head nods. The first type of smile, which has been hinted at by Ellen Pease, is the tight-lipped smile. This smile is normally exhibited when people do not want to open up with their thoughts, they want to restrain their attitudes, they want to conceal their ideas, and at the same time they want to come across as affable people. As you can make out from these photographs, the lips are stretched tight across face and the lips are in a straight line. So often you would find this type of a smile in the photographs and videos of highly successful people who may often talk about success and the parameters behind it, yet never reveal the true life stories. At the same time, we find that the tight-lipped smile also becomes a message to a new entrant in the group to suggest that the person is not included. The next type of smile is the twisted or the lopsided smile. Here we find that the two sides of the brain send conflicting messages to the person. It shows opposite emotions on each side of the face. The left brain pulls the muscles downwards and the right side of the brain raises the left hand side eyebrows as well as the lips and cheeks. And therefore, this smile expresses mixed emotions. The downward slant of lips, etc., suggests negative emotions, and the upward tilt suggests that the person is not angry. This is often considered to be a micro expression, but our experience tells us that it can also be done deliberately and sends messages of sarcasm as well as embarrassment in certain situations. The third type of smile, which has been taken up by Ellen Pease, is the drop jaw smile. It is the exaggeration of a smile, and often it is taken up by those people who have to interact with a large group of people, particularly the public figures, while interacting with a crowd. So they want to pass on the impression that they are happy and amused to meet these people, and there is a certain playfulness. At the same time, you would find that on various social occasions, it is displayed to lower the hostility or rancor in other people. So it is an exaggeration of a positive smile. The sideways looking up or the turned away smile, as you can easily make out by looking at this photograph. So it has encapsulated openness as well as shyness. It suggests a sense of welcome and at the same time a sense of being reserved and a tendency to avoid people. When we look at this smile in other people, it generates somehow a parental feeling in us and making us want to protect or to care for such a person. This smile has been immortalized by Princess Diana, who has captivated the hearts of people wherever she has gone. The miserable smile is a mask which helps us to suggest that we are not exactly in pain. So this is a social way of passing across this idea that we do not want to share our sorrow and our pain with others, or we are able to put up with it. So this smile is also slightly asymmetric one because the smile does not reach the eyes remain sad. A dampened smile is an attempt to control a very happy Disney smile. So here you would find that the person knows that there is a genuine warmth in the heart, there is a reason to actually smile in an open manner, but somehow either because of the social courtesy or because of certain other emotions or because of certain other constraints, the person feels that, well, I should not exactly smile here. So this is known as a dampening smile, putting a damp cloth on a warm cake, for example. This smile is passed on when we know that we are not in a situation to help the other people. The next is the qualifier smile. This is used when we feel that we are not in a position to help others, but at the same time, we want that the other person should not feel very bad. It eases off communication of bad news and it tries to take the edge off of a negative aspect. For example, you have been standing in a long queue waiting for your turn to get a particular model of a product. By the time the queue ends and you reach the window, you find that the model has been exhausted. At that time, the salesman would pass on this message to you with a practiced smile. So, this is a qualifier smile. So, it can be often irritating to us because either we are trapped into smiling back or the situation does not allow us to smile at all. Similarly, we have a smile which shows our contempt. It's a mixture of disgust and resentment, and it is very similar to a smile of true delight with some major differences. With a major difference that the corner of lips appear relatively tightened. This contempt smile is often displayed when we are in social situations. And similarly, you would find that in those cultures where the individual needs are not always the focus of attention, this is used to hide negative emotions, for example, anger, etc., to maintain social harmony. Another type of smile which has become a staple of films and similar media, etc., is the angry enjoyment smile. This is also known as a Schadenfreude smile, which is a German word, and this translates roughly as a malicious joy or delighting in the misfortune of other people. So, it is an expression of the thrill or the self satisfaction when we discover that the other person is facing certain hardships, etc. Often we find that the reasons of this emotion are different in different people. Sometimes it may be related with a personal feeling of vendetta towards an individual. Sometimes we find that there may be social or cultural issues, and sometimes we may find that there may be a sense of justice prevailing ultimately. For example, we may feel that a person has become suddenly rich and influential by unethical means. However, when after a couple of years the law is able to reach that individual and nabs him, then we feel some type of an enjoyment, and this smile is also reflected in these situations. This smile hides complex emotions. It hides emotions of aggression. It may stem forth from a sense of rivalry when our rival has been defeated, and sometimes, as I have commented just now, it may be the result of justice being served ultimately. It is not always easy to conceal this smile from others. When we are alone, we would smile in all these situations in a very happy manner. We would be using what is known as the Dushan smile, the Dushan laughs. But when we are in the presence of others, then we have been conditioned not to show too much of happiness in the unhappiness of other people, because basically we are all social people. When we know that somebody is watching, we try to wrap up this emotion of too much of an enjoyment on certain portions of our face. Our eyes would express the true emotions, but the grin would be there on our face. And it is this creepiness of this grin which has become a staple of horror movie villains. We also have what is known as a polite smile. Politeness, as you know, is voluntary and also deliberate, but at the same time it is a crucial aspect of our social interactions. So, this polite smile conveys this idea that the feelings of other people are important to us in different situations. An embarrassed smile is also another interesting example of how a smile enables us to overcome our social faux pas as well as to smoothen over certain uncomfortable incidents. For example, we have spilt a drink on the dress of a fellow person, we have forgotten the name of another person during our interaction, etc. So, this embarrassed smile helps us to overcome the awkwardness of these situations in a little manner at least. Several studies have also found that people like to forgive people more, that several studies have also suggested that in our interaction we tend to like as well as to forgive those people more who show their embarrassment with the help of such a smile. A very important aspect related with our smiles and its understanding is related with cultural understandings. We find that in different cultures, a smile is practiced differently because ultimately smile is also governed by the socially accepted display rules. Though all of us, all human beings in all cultures exhibit both Dachshund and social smiles as well as plastic smiles, we find how a smile is generated depends on our cultural background. It is noted that the common American behavior is to pass a happy smile, a Dachshund smile, very often when we interact with any person. In comparison to the Americans, the British perhaps are more likely to use a social smile. It has been pointed out in the study by Deher Keltner that the British more often pass a social smile in comparison to their American partners. It is pointed out in certain researches that the British are more likely to use the social smile instead of the Dachshund smile. A social smile, which is adopted owing to politeness concerns of the society. Keltner's research has traced the roots of this behavior in the greater emphasis which is found in the British culture on the display of social politeness and deference, as well as this concept of the British stiff upper lip, which is still very much practiced in certain circles of the British society. It is interesting to quote a research by Jian Sai, a professor at Stanford, who has suggested that how our culture views smiling influences how people in our culture smile. And I quote from her: often people think that when they are viewing a candidate's official photo, they are learning about the candidate's unique traits. But our findings suggest that they are also learning about the candidate's culture and the emotions it values. This is a significant research because instead of focusing on the expression of individual emotions, the research has focused on how the individual expression itself is culturally conditioned and culturally coded. She had compared the emotional expressions of leaders across different nations and has concluded that the more a particular nation values excitement, the more their leaders show excited smiles. And she has quoted the examples of the American leaders. On the other hand, the more a particular nation values calm, the more those leaders show calm smiles in their social interactions. And she has given the example of East Asian countries and their political leaders. She has used a phrase in this research, and I quote this phrase: ideal affect of a nation. This phrase is defined as culturally valued emotions and how people want or learn to feel it and express it in their body language. Another research which also supports this idea is by Carmen Judith Ninenkert. In nonverbal communication, she writes that the Anglo culture uses a smile in friendly circles but rarely in serious situations. For example, people would smile much less when they are at places of work and learning, for example, in classrooms as well as at their office. Similarly, it has been pointed out in this research that in Latin American countries, smiles take place of many verbal expressions. For example, instead of actually saying, "Hi, how are you?" a person in Latin America perhaps would prefer to smile at a person. And then the smile would suggest the thank you attitude also by another person. Expressing gratitude verbally may seem formal and impersonal in certain cultures. And in certain cultures, if a friend expresses these feelings in a verbal manner, it would be perceived as if the friend is either distancing himself or is rejecting the other people. Cross-cultural influences can also color the way we interpret the behavior of other people. If one is not aware of the cultural differences in the smiles, then it is easy to misperceive a person from a different background. For example, a British may misperceive that the Latin American friend is smiling too much or that the smile is inappropriate in certain situations. These cultural differences of understanding have seeped into some official guidebooks, and British authors of a popular guidebook about Poland have warned tourists that smiling at strangers in Poland is perceived as a sign of stupidity. The Norwegian government has humorously explained nuances of Norwegian culture by indicating that when a stranger on the street smiles at Norwegians, they may assume that the stranger is insane. These guidelines may not mean too much, but they help us to understand the significance of cultural differences in the way the smile is perceived. Another aspect of smile is related with too much smiling. Darwin has also written about the large class of idiots who are constantly smiling. A Russian proverb says that smiling with no reason is a sign of stupidity. Even though the smile itself is considered to be a universal expression of happiness, evidence suggests that when we do smile, how we do smile, how much we do smile, etc., is governed by the culture which has conditioned our psyche. For example, researchers have found out that in German culture, smiling is reserved for friends and family and may not occur during formal introductions. In settings of work and in those situations which are considered to be serious, for example, when somebody is dealing with illness, etc., or is in hospital, the most appropriate response is one that is reserved with no smile. In traditional Chinese families also, smiling is used extensively among family and friends, but in formal situations it may still be limited. The similar tendencies are seen in Vietnamese community by certain researchers, where they have found that silence or the use of a reluctant smile is used as an expression of negative connotations. Similarly, in several Asian cultures, we find that a smile may be an expression of an apology for minor offenses. It may also indicate our deference to authority. It may also cover the difficult feelings and emotions of pain, distress, etc. And also it helps us to avoid conflicts when we have been insulted or threatened or otherwise provoked. This video helps us to understand cultural variations in smiles in a very interesting yet succinct manner.
Travel advice to tourists visiting the US points out one custom most Americans wouldn't think twice about: their smile. Guidebooks explain to tourists that Americans smile to strangers a lot. So why do Americans smile so much? And why is that so strange to everyone else? Americans seem to smile even when there's not a very good reason to. When you see an American smiling, they might be feeling happy, confident, or neutral. Sometimes it's just a polite way to make someone else feel comfortable. Think service with a smile.
Here's your receipt. Thank you very much.
In other countries, though, smiling for no reason can make you seem kind of dumb. One researcher found in countries like Japan, India, South Korea, and Russia, smiling faces were considered less intelligent than serious ones. His theory is that there's a connection between a country's level of instability and finding smiling stupid. After all, how can you be so confident and happy when the future's uncertain? That might help explain stereotypically frowny places like Russia, where smiling in photos isn't really a thing. When McDonald's went to Russia in the 90s, they had to coach their employees on how to smile.
Another aspect of body language which I want to cover in today's module is the way head nods and shaking of the head is understood. A number of head-related gestures fall into clear categories of accepted meaning, and nodding of head and shaking of the head is also a prominent non-verbal way of communicating our feelings, emotions, messages, etc., along with smiles and head positions. Nod is considered normally a positive gesture to signify an affirmation or yes, and a shake of a hand is normally considered to be a no in most cultures, right? So you would find that both are presumed to be inborn gestures, but however nod is to be understood depends on the social and cultural interpretations, but in most cultures a nod is considered to be a yes and a shake is considered to be a no. However, there are certain segments of societies and certain cultures in which the nod is considered to be a no and a shake is considered to be a yes. But we would continue our discussion aligning with the commonly found understanding of the nod as yes and shake as a no. A head nod is used to show our agreement, our approval. While we are talking to other people, it also shows that we are able to comprehend their ideas and that we are continually attentive to them. At the same time, our nods help us to pass on what we are emotionally going through at that time. So, this rhythmical cue for affirmation and for passing on other related emotions is also often accompanied by smiling or its absence, and at the same time other related signs of approval or agreement. A double nod tells the speaker to increase the speed and tempo of the speech. Multiple head nods or a single slow nod may cause a disruption in the speaker's rhythm because the speaker may suddenly be attracted to this type of a nod. An excessive and rapid head nod can rush a response on the part of the speaker, and the speaker may feel that it is a non-verbal cue to hurry up his or her responses. An inappropriate head nodding or too rapid a head nodding is perceived normally as a rude behavior. It is also understood as an attempt to dominate the conversation. It takes the focus of the speaker and transfers it on to the listener. A polite and attentive nod is also related with good listening skills. This is one of the ways in which we signal to the speaker or the person we are talking to that we are engaged in whatever they are saying, we are engaged with them and they should continue further. And if used correctly, we find that it allows the speaker to fully express his or her thoughts in a satisfying manner, providing immediate feedback. Head nods suggest a particular sense of likability or its absence. At the same time, we would find that they are also associated with judgments of interpersonal competence. And several researchers have found out different aspects related with these interpretations of head nods and shaking of the head. And I quote some of these researches. Matrezzo and Wiens have examined the interactive processes which are inherent in interviews and found that head nods by the interviewer increased average duration of utterances by the interviewee. In a study by Clore et al., which they have conducted on college students to rate more than 100 nonverbal behaviors in terms of how much liking or how much disliking they communicated to them, the nods and shakes were highly rated by the participants. In a study of career officers who were undergoing a micro counseling training course, Dixon found that interviewers' use of head nods was a significant predictor of their interviewing competence as rated by experienced judges. In a more recent research, Schofield has noted that head nods by the listener increase the total verbal output of the speaker. That suggests that the speaker is encouraged by the attentive head nods of the listener. Head nodding also plays a very important role when we want to take leave after the dialogue is over, particularly when we want to pass on this idea that we are accessible to the other person as well as we are supportive in our relationship. The head nod becomes important at the termination of the dialogue. It is also a signal to others that you want them to continue, and it is also widely used by professionals the world over to encourage and motivate their clients to self-disclose at length. In various professions, you would find that nodding is deliberately taught as an art while listening to others. So, the reinforcing effects of the head nod gestures have been well documented, and its frequent use can be seen during almost all social and professional encounters as an indicator of attentive listening and agreement with the content. In this video, we can look at interesting summarization of the significance of nod and shake of the head.
The nod and the shake. The probably most common two signs we use in our daily lives are the nod and the head shake. Yes and no, agreeing and disagreeing. And besides the direction of the motion, up and down or left and right, rhythm and speed are also very important. A slow nod is used when we agree with something we see or listen to. For example, someone is holding a lecture about body language and we share his opinion. That seems about right. If we disagree, we tend to slowly shake our heads. Nope, I don't think so. A head shake with a higher rhythm can be seen when a higher stage of disagreement is reached. Nope, that's just bullshit. And the same goes for nodding. A fast rhythm means, oh yes please. Something I can often see in meetings when I propose an urgent solution for a sudden problem. Nodding can also be used during a conversation, both by the speaker and the listener. If we listen to a person, a nod is a sign of, yes, I understand, or I'm listening, please continue. It shows that we are paying attention and are interested in what the speaker has to say. And as the speaker, we can use well-placed nods to help influence the listeners to agree with us. For example, after making a statement or asking a rhetorical question. Isn't that what we really want? We nod to suggest the listener, yes, it is. In my opinion, the, let's call it, listener's nod to show interest is very effective. I make constant use of it, especially in conversations I'm digging for information. If we show our conversation partner that we are interested and approve what they say, they tend to get more talkative. They talk about the background of things or existing links. And furthermore, it opens the door for some digging questions like, that point I don't completely understand. Because we already build up interest, the question seems legit. We need more information. If we sat there quietly for 10 minutes and asked the same question, we make the impression that we didn't even pay attention. Nodding in order to influence people, let's call this one the inception nod, works.
Let's also briefly look at the head tilts and inclines and what exactly do they suggest. We find that our head is a very significant body feature because we have a flexible neck structure. It can turn, it can jut forward, we can withdraw our head, we can tilt it sideways, forward and backward. And all these movements of the head, our various tilts, suggest a particular set of emotions to the other people. It is common for people to tilt their heads either towards the left or the right hand side while they are watching something of interest or they are listening to something interesting. Normally it is considered to be a sign of mild and polite interest. A prolonged or deeper tilt creates empathy. At the same time, whether our head is tilted towards the right or towards the left during a dialogue as a speaker or as a listener also passes on certain clues about our thought processes. This aspect I would take up slightly later during this module. I would refer to Ellen Pease again. He has suggested that there are three basic head positions which leave a lasting impression during any interaction, and that is the head up, the head tilts and the head down movement. Head up is a position which is taken up by a person who normally has a neutral attitude about what is being said. Normally, if it is not supported or modified by, let us say, hand and finger movements. The head remains still during the conversation and may be punctuated by occasional small nods. So, when we introduce our hands and fingers in this particular gesture, then it becomes an evaluatory gesture and different shades are added to the basic meaning. Some of these we will look up when we will take up hand and finger positions and gestures. When the head is lifted high with the chin jutted out, then it suggests a very strong self-confidence, a feeling of superiority, a sense of arrogance even, and at the same time a fearless attitude. Peace has commented that people who adopt this posture in a subconscious manner expose their throat, suggesting that they are not afraid of other people, and in a way they suggest that they are looking down their nose to you. Normally it is considered to be a gesture of superiority and arrogance, but very often we find that people who are highly self-confident and have a fearless attitude also often inadvertently display this particular gesture. Tilting the head is often considered to be a submission signal because it exposes our neck to other people. Charles Darwin was the first to note this association, and he had suggested that human beings as well as animals tilt their heads to one side when they become interested in something and are not aggressive. We find that a gender-based aspect is also associated with the head tilt. Studies of paintings over the last several centuries show that women are often depicted more using the head tilt in comparison to men. Women are often also shown in advertisements tilting their heads. Researchers tell us that it is 3 times as often as men. In different societies, we find that in women it is commonly perceived as a gesture of sexual interest. Our neck tilt also shows how most people understand things on an intuitive level, and in a business negotiations with men, if a head tilt is shown very often, it is often considered to be an act of submission or an indication that things would be sooner or later accepted by you, and therefore women are often advised to particularly keep their head up and straight in all times during any negotiations. It also helps us to understand what type of thought patterns are going on in the minds of other people during a presentation or while we are delivering a speech, and we are able to look at our audience. When you see an audience tilting their heads and leaning forward using hand to chin evaluation gestures, you can understand that people are paying attention to the content. When you listen to the others, then we use the head tilts and head nods, and the listener will begin to feel trusting towards you because you would appear as interested as well as non-threatening. And now we come to the point of discussing our right and left-handed tilts of the head. If the head is tilted to the right, you will feel more open as you are accessing the creative part of the brain. If your head tilts to the left, you are likely to be intellectually analyzing what is being said. A 2006 study found that tilting your head to the right makes you appear honest and dependable, and tilting your head to the left makes you more attractive. So the option is either to come across as an attractive person or as a more honest and dependable person. Tilting the head is often seen as a sign of trust. It is also perceived as a sign of empathy, as it is basically a non-threatening gesture. It can also be taken as a signature of submissiveness, as we have discussed in the previous slide. Princess Diana has also made this particular head gesture very famous. It is a flattering and photographic pose. However, some experts have also read it as a projection of a sense of melancholy. The head and chin down position signals a negative and judgmental attitude. It may also suggest that certain aggression is also present in the person who is displaying this particular position. Critical evaluation clusters are normally made with the head down, and we find that the association of hand and fingers with this position either further aggravates or dilutes these stance. If in dialogue a person continues to adopt this particular gesture or posture, then it has to be taken as a deliberate absence of response. The person does not want to get involved in the dialogue. So professional presenters and trainers are often confronted by audiences who are seated with their heads down and arms folded in a cross. So, people who are experienced and people who have been trained to lower the defenses on other people will be actively taking certain actions to involve the audience and to get their participation before they actually begin either their dialogue or professional talks or presentations. We may use different types of icebreakers to initiate certain involvement in the person by somehow breaking this particular head down movement. So, if our tactics are successful, the audience would be able to raise up the head, and the next head position would be a tilt, either the right hand or a left hand tilt. That would be the beginning point of interest from the perspective of this individual. In this particular video, the head tilts and their meanings have been displayed.
Head positioning. Head tilt. Besides the listener's nod, there's another way we can use a head to indicate interest in a conversation, the head tilt. It is described as a sign of interest, or says in a powerful way, I am comfortable, I am receptive. But a good reason why actually I couldn't find. I showed a picture of the dog because that is, in my opinion, where this sign originates from. And the funny thing is, we don't even know for sure why dogs do it. For me, this one is one of the most controversial signs. The explanations range from being interested to the tilted head exposes the carotid artery on the side of the neck and may be a sign of submission and feelings of vulnerability. Yeah, I don't know. Let me tell you what my experiences with the head tilt are. I was looking for an alternative for the listener's nod. Using it perpetually makes one look like a bobblehead. And after approximately 1 year of head tilting, I noticed mainly 2 reactions. First, none at all. Second, confusion. The moment I tilted my head, I could instantly see the "what the heck is he doing" expression on the faces. And moreover, I barely noticed anyone else doing the head tilt, especially not for the sake of raising interest. But where you can see the head tilt in action is the television. For example, in the show How I Met Your Mother, Season 2, Episode 7. It even gets described by the protagonist Ted, head slightly tilted to give a sense of vulnerability.
In this video, the interpretation of a head tilt is presented by a retired FBI agent, Joe Navarro. His professional experience makes it a very valuable insight.
Head tilt is probably one of the best indicators of comfort. Probably more powerful than a smile, because most people can fake a smile. But head tilt we reserve for when we're truly comfortable. When somebody really believes in us, they're comfortable around with us, they'll tilt their head. We as a species don't expose our necks unless we're really comfortable. In fact, you can be talking to someone and you mention something negative and immediately their head will bob up, because it's a survival response that I will not expose my neck.
During my discussion, I have tried to incorporate the major positions which our head takes, the major types of smiles, etc. There are several other aspects which have been left out of discussion. Many of them would be taken up when we will talk about the clusters of our movements, gestures and postures. Some may be still left out, but they can be taken up during our live sessions.